Keith, let's move on to the team that you know so well, the Boston Celtics, who are surprisingly a team that's looking like they're going to have some cap space given what's going on with Kyrie Irving and Al Horford. But I guess before we get into them, did you like what they did in the draft?
I did. I thought I knew there was no way they were coming away with three first rounders. They were very clear about that going
Right.
in. That's just too many rookies. A lot of people say, why not? And one of the things you have to be cautious of is, let's say everything goes great and those guys all pan out and they're all awesome. Well, then what you have happen there is you end up with your salary cap sheet becomes a mess because you have to pay them all at the same time. So, and I apologize, I just moved my mic a little closer. Hopefully that's a little better.
All good.
I'm pretty loud anyway. But anyway, it's you don't want to have that situation because it's going to make things messy. So trading out of the one pick to pick up a future pick down the line, that's fine with me. I really like the idea of adding Romeo Langford. I think that's an upside play. Didn't shoot it real well in his freshman year at Indiana, mostly I think because he was struggling through the thumb injury. So we'll see what that ultimately pans out to be. But the NBA is a wings game now, so adding as many talented wings as you can is important. I think Grant Williams will be solid for them. He's kind of a tweener big, not really
Yeah.
super big enough to be a five, small five, but definitely can play the power forward spot, maybe even play a little bit of the three. So I think he's going to be pretty good. And then the two guards in the second round, Carson Edwards and Waters. Those will be fun guys. Edwards, the guy who can really fill it up as a scorer, and Waters, really good shooter and a playmaker. I think those two probably log a lot of G League minutes this coming season just to get them, ready and transition to the NBA. But overall, I think all four picks really, hit, and I think they have a chance to be pretty good for the Celtics.
Yeah, I like what they did overall. Really like the Carson Edwards pick. I think that was a perfect spot to grab him at. I think that he's the kind of guy that can be that kind of microwave scorer off the bench. Like you said, maybe it's not right away, but eventually down the line he can do those things. Now heading into free agency, now as long as a month ago, we weren't thinking that the Celtics were going to have any cap space really to do anything with because they were going to have maybe Kyrie coming back, and that was starting to become questionable. But perhaps Al Horford was going to pick up that $30 million player option on his contract, and instead he has declined that option. We thought at first he was going to renegotiate with Boston and he was going to come away with a new deal there. Instead, now it sounds like he's looking elsewhere, and so suddenly the Celtics have room to play with. And the rumor that just came out this morning was that they might be according to Mark Stein, a stealth suitor. I love terminology in the NBA. A
Right, it's
stealth
so
suitor
great.
for Kemba Walker from the Charlotte Hornets. Keith, what do you think about all of that? Can they really swoop in and steal Kemba away, and should they?
Yeah, so the thing, well, we'll talk about Charlotte in a minute here, and we can get more into it
Mm-hmm.
them then on the Kemba side for their side, but they can offer him the supermax. So first, it has to be, will they, won't they?
Right.
What's that going to look like, and does he pass that up or not? So that'll be interesting. But I think what you have to really focus on with Kemba with the Celtics is he immediately comes in, he slides into the Kyrie Irving role as the
Yeah.
scoring guard, ball dominant guy. He's a
Pretty
better
smooth
playmaker.
transition there, which by the way,
Absolutely.
not to interrupt, but pretty smooth transition between Irving and Kemba. I mean, not the exact same player, but they're similar enough to where that it wouldn't be that jarring of a transition from one to the other.
No, it wouldn't be. And I think you also have the benefit of Kyrie is really, really good. Don't get me wrong, great playmaker,
Mm-hmm.
but Kemba is probably a little bit better off the ball. So I think you could run some sets where you're using him off the ball and designing plays that are primarily for Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown, which you can't really do with Kyrie because Kyrie's not great off the ball. He needs
Right.
to have the ball to be his most effective. So yeah, so in order to get Kemba though, they're gonna have to basically clear the decks of all their free agents. So that is, Irving and Horford either announced or they
Right.
sign elsewhere. That would mean losing Terry Rozier and his restricted free agent rights. That's something that the vast majority of the Celtics fan base would be okay with because he really had a poor year.
And he made those comments too about not wanting to
Absolutely.
come back. I mean, I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly what he said, but essentially he made it known that he's probably not coming back.
Yeah,
Maybe that
unless he's
changes
a
with Kyrie
starter.
gone.
Yeah, yeah. So if you go that direction, let's face it, Kemba, that contract's probably going to be bad by the end, right?
By year four,
That's
yeah.
yeah, by year four, yeah, and that's the max Celtics can sign him for is 4 years. But I look at it as if you get two a really good year, a good year, an average year, and a bad year, that's fine. That's you're paying a little bit down the line for performance earlier in the deal. So I think that works out just fine. So it's one of those things where I'm not sure this is the way it all goes, but what should have Celtics fans heartened is they've got a lot of options
Yeah.
this summer now. It's not all woe is me and we lost our all-stars and these guys are gone. There's a lot of options to do different things, and that's really important for them going forward.
Now, if they don't get Kemba, let's say they don't get any of the top tier guys for whatever reason, whether it's still there's a little bit ill will out there over the way everything broke with Isaiah Thomas or whatever. That was what we heard with the Anthony Davis situation. For whatever reason, let's say the top guys don't go to Boston. How do they pivot?
Yeah, what I was told yesterday is that they are a team that's likely to kind of pull a Nets out of their hat and start signing.
Which is ironic, isn't it?
Right, I know. Yeah, it's so weird. It's like they're gonna play trading spaces here, in the next, over the span of a couple short years. So that's what it sounds like. Is they'll play the restricted free agent game. Couple names that were thrown at me are Malcolm Brogdon, and then Thomas Bryant, Tomas Satoransky from the Wizards.
Yeah.
A couple guys who definitely helped them. A couple of point guards there, and then a big man. So we'll see. It's again. I go back to there's all sorts of options here. Then one thing that's really important to note is Danny Ainge is not gonna go quietly into that good night with a whole ton of cap space. He's gonna do something, whether it's something unforeseen or it's something that we all see coming, like now with this Kemba thing. He's definitely gonna be active and involved, and they were very clear they're not rebuilding, they are retooling. They are building around what they have, and they expect to still be a pretty good team.
Will he finally part with some of his young assets? I mean, that's been the big criticism, is that they haven't pulled the trigger. They've constantly had this treasure chest full of all these great assets, and then they've never quite turned it into something. So is the pressure now on Ainge to make a big move?
Yeah, I don't think the pressure's on him necessarily to do that, but what I do think is they were obviously saving those guys to trade for Anthony Davis. Right. That was the goal. And when that didn't happen, I don't think they're going to feel pressured into doing anything for a secondary guy or a guy who's not, seen as a true superstar. And what Ainge will do is now he'll flip it forward and say, maybe these guys grow into that themselves, or we'll save them for when the next guy becomes available. Yeah. And then we'll get involved there. So, and that's, I know we all like to laugh about, they were close to trading for,
right.
Insert superstar here. But I think there is something to be said for they set a price and they'll only go so far to try and get those guys.
Yeah, and credit to them for sticking to their guns with that and setting a limit and not overspending